Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are doing good. Welcome. It's Wednesday night. It is time for another episode of Minor League Fights and Insights. Uh, Good evening, Charles, Sudo Nakai. For you only, open bar. Everybody else, 2 tickets. Then you have to pay it out of your own pocket. All right. Anyways, great seeing you all. Great happy to have you join us tonight. We are going to be talking about the final 2 teams. We've already done our first week that we were analyzing. We did the first 3. Then we did another 3 last week, and we're going to wrap up the final 2 to make it the 8 that we've got in this season in just a moment. We've got a plethora of co-hosts tonight. I'm really excited to see them joining me. With me, as most always, Daniel Wright. Thanks for joining me tonight.
No problem. Happy to be here. And also, Mickey's in the chat. How you doing, man?
And then also for tonight, similar to last week, Derek, welcome. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Coming to you
Good.
live from the Meerkat Den.
Excellent. Underground as always.
Yes.
Cool. And then we've also got Johnny Reno joining us tonight. Johnny, how are you tonight?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Good.
Glad to be here.
The facial hair game is strong with this bunch. All right. Cool. Tonight, so we've got a fun little show tonight. We've got a special little segment that we are going to be looking at who's hot right now, or who's some player standouts, if you will, so far as we inch our way towards the opening week in about a week and a half or so. I want to say 22nd, 23rd, something like that. But first, as we typically do, we've got 2 minor league players that are joining us for a little interview, a little chat. And they actually happen to be family. They're related. Yes. We heard a little bit about it during the game between Madison and Annapolis, the preseason game that happened about 3 weeks ago or so. But tonight we've got with us, we've got young Vot, who is the free safety for the Madison Lynx. And we've also got his cousin, ReggO Dinero, who is the wide receiver for the Annapolis Navigators. Good evening to the 2 of you.
Good evening. Good evening. How you doing today? Glad to be with you guys.
Good, doing good, living the dream. Having fun as always. It's really a great time to talk with you all. Curious. We want to know a little bit about you. So, if young Vot, tell us a little bit about who you are and what do you do, or what are you having fun with so far? Oh, your audio is cracking up a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm a business owner. I own multiple businesses, and that's pretty much my life right there.
Okay. Cool. So you're involved in you got your own business doing things, keeping those running. Very cool. Reggio, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm from Georgia. I do hurricane disaster work, hurricanes, tornadoes. I'm currently out here working in California right now.
Oh wow. Very cool. Reggio, tell us a little bit about your SFL journey so far. What has it been like? How did you find the league? That kind of thing.
I actually found the league from my cousin Vine. We were playing this game called Goal Line Blitz, which is a football game, and he started telling me about SFLm, about how it was, SFL, how it was so much better, that, y'all had the games live on Twitch and YouTube, and it just sounded more exciting, and me and him are always in competition, so once he told me about it, I immediately was like, sounds like something I would be interested in.
Very cool. And young Vot, what has your journey been like so far? Did you find it first, and did you? It sounds like you might have passed it on to Reggio.
Yeah, it's been great so far. It's a great experience. Me, all of you all, like a real life experience here. And I actually found it because we both are big gamblers. So in the football season,
I remember ESPN, and I'm trying to get into a little baseball so I can have tickets and stuff like that. Actually, was a game on watched it. Like he said, we come from goal line blitz, which is a similar game to this, except for it's just like with dots type of thing. And I told anybody, like, hey,
Very cool. The rest is history. Yeah, that's one thing with this. There's the over unders and the score. What is it? I'm not a gambler, so I don't like. What are the things about who has who's gonna win or who has odds? That's it. That's what I was looking for. Variety of odds. We've got a great stats team working on a lot of that stuff, the behind the scenes. Yeah, tell me, Reggio, what has been one of your favorite moments so far? Has there been one that sticks out for you?
Um, I like the fact that I actually had a good game, first game, and that we won because I got bragging rights against him. So I was pretty excited about that. Everyone's saying that we're most likely gonna meet up in the championship, so I'm looking forward to that. But overall, it's just a great game. You guys are doing a great job. Really like it. We've been trying to recruit other people to join as well, so got a good thing going, definitely.
Very cool. And young Vot, has there been anything that stands out to you as sort of something that's really memorable or a moment that you that's sort of a highlight so far?
this game, similar the same with him. Great
Okay.
first game, and pretty much the same thing.
Cool. Yeah, I know. Knowing that the schedule is out, Madison and Annapolis battle both in week 1 and week 8 before the playoffs. So it is going to be a rivalry between the two of you. Definitely, I can totally see that. Starting out bookending this season. Wanted to hear from you, Young Vot. What are you hoping to accomplish this season, and or in the SFL in general? Like, do you have any certain goals or anything that you are sort of looking forward to or trying to achieve?
Yeah, my biggest goal is to definitely get a team, become an owner of a team. But still strong is basically learn the scouts. I want to do the whole process of coaching, GM, head coach, all that type of stuff.
Sure.
But the end goal, once I get down and learn that type of stuff, is to own a team, become a team owner.
Cool. For you, Reggio, same question. Is there any certain goals or anything that you're looking at wanting to achieve, whether that's this season or a few seasons or a dozen seasons from now, if you will?
I actually want to be I have a goal of being a first round draft pick. I know it's going to be hard to do just because of the way the team is set up, but by being an expansion team, that's kind of what my goal is: be a first round draft pick, and then I also want to make the Hall of Fame once I make it to the majors to
Mm-hmm.
be one of the best wide receivers ever played the game. And
Yeah.
then once Bot gets his team, because I'm pretty sure he will get one eventually, I want to go into, maybe an offensive coordinator or something of that nature.
Very cool. It sounds like wanting to be remembered and leave a legacy, if you will. Daniel,
Yeah.
do you have any questions for either of these two?
Well, you know me, I always got questions that are a little unique and strange. But Reggio, I'm going to start with you because this is something that has happened with me personally, and Derek and Angela also has this familia spite. You are familiar with Young Vot. You play in the league. You play against each other in preseason, ironically enough. And I got that going on with Banks in Louisiana. One up right there. But tell us a bit more about, just the experiences of playing with your family, playing against them. I'm sure you guys rib each other all the time. Just tell the audience all about it.
It's a great experience. I mean, it's like you're actually on a real team. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm in the league. I'm just not on real TV, but I think I'm on YouTube. You get exposure. If anyone's thinking about it or hesitant about joining, you like football, I definitely think you should join. I mean, it's a great price. I love it. I see myself doing it for probably the next 10 years if it's going that long.
Well, that's what me and Axel are hoping too. We'll see if
Yep.
that actually comes to fruition. Young Vot, we actually heard a bit that you're a businessman off the side before we actually talked. Tell us about your experience being a business and how do you think that will translate to the SFL if it does?
Uh, it'll be a great match because I see from my point of view of the active seat now that it's kind of ran just like the NFL, which is what I love so much about it, and being able to experience owning a team that's ran kind of like an actual team is a big plus. And I think I can do well in it.
I think you will too. People love you already, and we've only got a chance to talk to you. Derek, do you have any questions you want to add?
My question is actually for both of you. Do you think that once you guys get into the pros that you're gonna want to stay on different teams to enjoy that rivalry, or do you see yourselves wanting to be on the same team?
Me personally, I really don't think it matters because we're on different sides of the ball. So I feel like I would enjoy talking smack, going against him to beat him, and I also would enjoy me scoring a touchdown and him getting an INT or a tackle for a loss or whatever. I think I would enjoy it both ways.
It'd be the same both ways. I think we'll probably have to add a little practice in though, so we can see how it is on the practice list. We'll still some trash talking rights. And we did end up on the same team.
Oh yeah.
Cool. And Johnny, do you have any questions for young Vot ReggO Dinero?
No, I don't think so. Sounds like y'all nailed all of them. I appreciate the enthusiasm from both of you guys, and look forward to watching you guys play this season.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
I have one question for the two of you. Where did you guys get these names from, or where are they? Do they come from your own personal names? Are they, etc.? Tell me more about those.
Well, my name is actually a nickname of mine. So
Okay.
and it's something that I play a lot of internet games and I use the same name, so I just decided to stick with it over here.
Cool.
And me, I got the name Reggio was a nickname I got as a kid, growing up. And Bot, I guess he was standing on the outside seeing me getting money and he just added the Dinero on it. So he always called me ReggO Dinero. So I decided to name my receiver there.
Awesome. It's stuck. That's awesome. I love to see the extension of just like, real life names, real life, nicknames and what you're being called, coming into the simulation part. I love that. Well, great. Any last comments from either of you two, young Vot or ReggO Dinero? Anything you want to say before we call it a night for you two?
Just I enjoy the game. It's a great game. You guys are doing a great job. That's all I got.
Cool.
Same thing. Good job with everything you all do. I see this league going to an excellent spot. I actually have a bid in for a team as a I think I'm gonna pull out because just the timing. I'm actually starting up a new business at this moment too, so I think I might just pull out of it for now and just catch the next round. But definitely ready to meet a lot of y'all at the convention that's coming up, and also so like I tell you for good luck on that, and hey, Lynx Madison is the championship, baby.
Back to back. All right. Well, thanks you two for joining us. Really appreciate you both coming on. I wish you well tonight in all your endeavors. You, especially young Vot, and what you're doing with your business, you're starting up and things. And then as the season starts, I'm looking forward to the game that we have on week 1. So
appreciate you for having me.
All right. Take care. Good night. All right. So that leaves us great. I mean, great people. It's always great talking with people. Thanks you all for adding some good questions in there too. Really great to sort of meet them and get to know who they are a little bit. So we're jumping back to taking a look at who the two different teams that we haven't done yet. So they're the ones that played the last preseason game last Friday. Uh, the Miners, I believe, snuck out the win a little bit. It was a sort of a fun game to watch. So we're going to start with the Adams coming up. So the portal has been updated. The two-way contract players are now incorporated into the actual rosters, which is great to see. So we have and I have this list for everybody to sort of see. We've got the asterisks there denoting who's on two ways. So yeah, we've got Trellis Blanton, returning for this is his third season. Yep, he started in season 3 when Daniel and I first started. We've got Baloo Scott out there. Did okay running out there. Chuck Stellar, fullback. TT Crystal, I believe, got an animation and moved ahead of Honus Adobe. Got a wide receiver number 3, Ed Williams, in there. And then, yeah, we've got, Don Fletcher, Liam Ryan coming back, as well as Dante Grimm coming back as well on two-way contracts. Tell me, Daniel, what are your thoughts on this team? What do you think their strengths might be? Whether it's offense or defense or individual players.
Yeah, so from what we saw in the preseason game, they were able to move the ball fairly easily up and down the field. They were able to get the plays that they needed, but they could never find the end zone. So I'm hoping now that they've seen this and they can move from that. Blue had a pretty good game, but he's in the lowest of the ratings with running backs, and that will improve over time. But I think this used to be a running game because they used to have Douglas Brown. And when you had Douglas Brown, you can just give it to him 30 odd times. He'll get to the end zone. You got to change it up this time. You got to go more throw heavy with TT Crystal and Adobe, both coming back. So that's excellent arsenal for a third season player, Charles Blanton, who should shine this season, honestly. There is not too many quarterbacks that are actually better than him going into this. So he should have a tremendous season if all things work out. Well, I think the real strength is going to be on the defense with this team, especially in the strong safety Dante Grimm and the 2 returning cornerback. Like, you got a whole bunch of bronze there. You got a whole, and we know the Adams have a good defense. They've always had a good defense, and I think they're just going to keep that momentum going. But they need to figure out their offense because they need to score more than 3 points a game. I love Mickey, but we need more than just threes. We need a couple sevens in there.
Yeah. Derek, what are your thoughts on this team?
I kind of had a little bit of the same thoughts as Daniel about the offense. So I watching that preseason game with them not being able to finish drives. I see, you got a pretty new running back. I don't see any tight ends. So I feel like they're going to struggle in those short yardage situations and in the goal line, because without those tight ends, those security blankets and a good run game, I think that's where they're going to struggle. But I do also agree that the secondary looks like it's poised to do pretty well. The front 7 is pretty light though.
Yeah, I was going to mention that this is one of the teams that does not have the 2 defensive linemen, missing a defensive end there, as well does not have an outside linebacker either. So really, they might be giving up rushing yards and relying on their safeties to do more of the heavy tackling, especially if they get into a game against Annapolis with Squarebush and things to trying to stop them might be tough. Johnny, what's your take on this team?
Pretty much the same. I do agree. Their secondary looks pretty strong. Kind of glancing at the players they have with Dante Grimm coming back. Offensively, I mean, you got Trellis Blanton, of course, who's in his 3rd season. I think he'll be just fine. He has 3 pretty good wide receivers to throw to. plus they have an offensive lineman. So even with Baloo Scott being, a rookie, I think with an offensive lineman that'll help him out quite a bit. I think personally looking at the roster, I think offensively they'll be just fine. They can put points on the board, and I don't read into the preseason games too much.
Mhm.
Kind of going off of last season, what Albuquerque wasn't there last season, but 2 seasons ago they were a powerhouse. So
Yeah.
I see that continuing on. I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, and knowing that it's Joshua Williams and the team that he has from the Adams, in season 3 coming over again and really doing their work on this team, I think is putting together a solid game plan. We all know that game plans are the thing that win games, right? That's you could have, you can overcome lower players or battling against higher players by having a really solid game plan that both capitalizes on your strengths and capitalizes on your opponent's weaknesses and things. I think they're gonna, as you said, Daniel. I think they're gonna try to keep the running game in the sequence of things, right? Trying to make sure that he does get the handoffs, but I think they're probably going to lean a little bit more towards the reliant on the pass in their games is my bet. Just until Baloo Scott starts to until they find like the certain running plays or certain running formations that really work well for him, and as he starts to come into his own through progressions progressively through the season. He is a balanced back, so it's a little bit of a, could be, so Square Bush is the power back plowing through people, but we also know that power backs don't really come into their own until they get near maximum. They're a little bit harder to break out as the finesse backs. I think as copper and as bronze, they can be very effective against mediocre defenses. Where I think the balance, I'm curious to see how the team, how Joshua Williams and team handle and where they put Baloo Scott in different certain situations to see how effective he is. As all of you mentioned, Trellis Blanton, there's not much keeping him from having a blowout here other than the game plan. I think, and if they can execute on it well, and if the AI is their friend and doesn't do funny cheesy things that APF AI sometimes does.
You're asking the AI to be someone's friend? That's never gonna happen.
Maybe they'll take it out to the bar and buy it some shots or something before the game. And anyways, I think that this team could be very good. Again, it's just that as all of you mentioned, the lack of tight end and a light front seven might be key, and that's where very well by week 1, week 2 they could have that all filled up with brand new players too. So that should be fascinating season for them. Sorry. Next week, I think we'll take a look at the week 1 games and start analyzing what those might be and what those battling back and forth. So look forward to that. So next we have election. Oh no! Before we do that, actually that's it. Yes, before we the next thing is the Lexington Miners. Sorry about that, folks. Getting ahead of myself. So Lexington Miners, we've got a lot of returning 2-way contractors here. 7, it looks like, on the sheet that I recognized. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. It's possible that I could have made a error here or there, but Jaleel Usman being a silver did pretty good during the preseason game. Christian Pierce was like ebb and flow, wasn't really hitting some of the things, being past the ball as sort of a check down, oftentimes 3-4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and was not able to get back to the line of scrimmage. Again, as like Johnny said, put as much worth as you want to in the preseason games. They are just simply, the players out there on the field playing someone else's game plan or playbook. But with Zachary Patton out there, and David Gears, it looks like Patton probably got a animation this week that boosted him from being wide receiver number 2 to wide receiver number 1, which then leaves Gears, who had a really great preseason game, catching 2 really big passes over on the wide receiver 2 spot, lined up against the CB2 from for the opponent's teams, which I think could be maybe an issue for the opposing teams. They've got their Mo Jones had a really nice catch, and I want to say he might have gotten a touchdown. I'm trying to remember. They've got Jamarcus Candy coming in now. This is his second week. Really solid defensive line there. Looks like with the porting back into with the 2 ways for Stelton, who had previously been a linebacker, is now playing as a defensive tackle here. So he'll be in that position moving forward. Sean Parent, I believe, had 2 sacks in the preseason game. Thomas Matthews is a big, strong inside linebacker. That's I think poised right now to stop the run, but has good enough height and coverage, I think, to perhaps do some coverage out there. And then they've got a really stacked. Ty Woodson coming back as a silver CB. We've got Travis Arthur from Tulsa, Isabel Blackwell from San Diego, and then they've got their kicker, which is not as many teams have kickers. So, Daniel, what's your take on this team?
Well, I'm just flabbergasted by the amount of players they have. They have 17 right there on the sheet alone, and you just said 7 are coming back on a 2-way contract. And I know Billy Usman is not the best of the best quarterbacks, but there's things I've heard before, and I'll try and reiterate the best I can here. Your quarterback is as good as the wide receivers you throw to. And by God, David Garrett's being a second wide receiver is damn good for him. Because this is going to be a dynamite team on the offense. And we've seen it in the preseason game, even though, once again, generic playbooks and all that. Gears had a good out route that got blocked the first time. They went back to it in the second half, almost the first play, boom, for 60, 70 yards for a touchdown. If they get this connection and chemistry now as him number 2, this is going to be a lethal team. On the defensive side, look at all those returning players on defense. That's a scary bunch of people. We got Silvers, we got Coppers. Travis Arthur, I know well from Tulsa, is playing pretty well in this regard of being on 2-way contract. He's going to do outstanding in the minor leagues. Isabel Blackwell, Axel a bit more. But she did well last season. Like the minors did well last season with this group of defense, and they look like they only added people. They added pieces to the puzzle. And I think this is going to be a dark horse. They might actually go back to the championship game with the way this team is going. I got nothing but love for this team. I don't think I can find much of a fault, honestly. I'm trying to find one. I'm trying to stall for time to try and figure it out. I guess it's all on Jill Usman, but then again, with the wide receiver core they have, that's a scary bunch of people.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go over to Johnny. Johnny, what is your take on this team?
No, I totally agree with Daniel. I think defensively has to be the best, if not one of the best teams in the minors this season. Absolutely shut down with 5 returning, 2-way players coming back. Offensively, Usman's a solid quarterback with a couple solid wide receivers. Coaching wise, I think this is the team to beat. Personally, I didn't make an official prediction on the page on who I thought was going to win the season, but if I had to go with one, I think Lexington's my team this season. I think it's top to bottom solid team, coaching, players, everything.
Mm-hmm. And now, Derek, your turn. What are your thoughts on this team?
This team looks scary. I mean, I mean, Daniel was saying earlier about how it was a good defense last year, and they've just added guys. I mean, having 5 2-way players on that defense, I think offenses are gonna have a hard time with them. And talking again about Gears at number 2 wide receiver, Albuquerque's the only team that has 2 bronze or better corners. So I think he is going to have quite the year. if he stays in that spot and keeps progressing, he's going to be lighting up some guys that are a good 20 points less than him.
Definitely. No, I think you're spot on. I think, so coming into this, when I've been preparing the teams sheets or these graphics for our conversations, I'd do the one, I'd pull it directly from the portal. I'd add, the 2, 3, 4 two-way contract players on the left in blue, not really, merging as much, not know exactly what their ratings were going to be when they were brought in to the roster. And now we're seeing it directly, all of it together in one whole chunk. And you are absolutely right that this team does look very scary. Coming, from the last two conversations that we had in the last 2 weeks, I think the team that had topped out, correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, was the Lincoln Rattlesnakes, was looking very scary as well.
That
But
is correct, yeah.
how does this team stack up against them? And I was just pulling their previous. This is what they were last week when we talked about them. I kind of feel that this Miners blow them out of the water right now, based on what how we're seeing. Both the secondary. Yes, they've got Frankie Custer, really solid backup safety net there, but with the wide receivers, there's not very, there's Lottie Lou coming over and Brian Murphy, but they're not the, this would be Lottie's second minor league season. He's only a bronze. Brian Murphy, I think, is only a bronze as well. If maybe is a silver, I didn't check, but I don't think I think this would be a second season as tight end. And looking at, they don't have the depth in cornerbacks as the Miners do. I feel like the Miners, right now, then Trump, correct me if I'm wrong, and we can go across, do the Miners overtake the Rattlesnakes in like that team to beat?
Well, I picked the Rattlesnakes to win it all in our little thing, and I'm afraid to say it, but I think the Miners are the better full-edged team. But
again, on paper,
being the best team doesn't mean you're going to win. We've seen that last season. Sorry, Johnny Reno. I do apologize for that with the Tacoma boys.
You're absolutely right.
But things happen, surprises happen. On paper, this looks like the best team, but I don't think it might not, or it might sow that in championship game. But I'm still going to lean Rattlesnakes on my personal bet. But yes, on paper, this is the best team.
Would you guys agree, Derek and Johnny?
So I hadn't picked a team yet.
Okay.
In there, and I think I might go Lexington. I mean, I think if these two teams face each other, looking at Lincoln's secondary and their corners in particular, on paper, they should get lit up. But again, on paper and in game are two different things.
Mm-hmm. Johnny, what is your take on between?
I just made my official prediction. I think Lexington is the team to beat this year. I mean, if I saw one weakness, I mean, it would be their running game. But with Jamarcus Candy coming back, I'm big on having an offensive lineman. I think having an offensive lineman can, boost a rookie's running game greatly. So, I think Lexington personally.
Cool. Well, I think Ethan will enjoy hearing that. Ethan Kai. That's one thing. Knowing that he's the head coach for them. I know how passionate, and how hungry, and how anal. Bad choice of words, but how intense he gets. That's a better word. How intense he gets in simming, and he just has that short-sighted, I'm gonna focus on that next game. I'm gonna blow them out of the water kind of mentality. He's got that, so that he always brings that to bear. So we'll, I think it's a scary team, and we'll see how. I'm talking with him. He's got, he's been planning things for the last couple months, so we'll see how it all comes to fruition in week one. We all know best laid plans in week one sometimes just absolutely implode. So that should be a fun thing to watch. Just all the teams to see where and how they step up and overcome. So anyways, any final thoughts on, we did six teams before. We've just done two. Any final thoughts from anyone?
I'll say, how the hell did the Miners get so many people on their roster? They almost have a full pro team.
Almost. I think, Ethan, this will just become the Seattle Nemesis. Is what they'll become.
Just draft every single one that's not on a two-way contract. Go.
Yeah. Even from that, they might just be free agents coming over to the Seattle Nemesis or something. Anyways, well, cool. All right. Well, we'll move on now from team analysis to something that I'm calling player spotlight. So ultimately, who stands out so far? We haven't had really any regular season game yet, so this is again things that we've seen on paper, things that we've seen in the chat, things that we've seen in the preseason games, etc. Things that players that we think someone to say maybe watch, someone to shine a spotlight on that maybe hasn't had the spotlight on them before. So I'm going to let Johnny. If I'll switch it up. Johnny, do you want to go first for who stands out?
For sure. Yeah. So I went running back. I'm picking Marcus Duncan as my player. Looking, and this is solely off of statistics. Looking off of last season, outside of the four horsemen from last year, he was number 5 in running yards. 206 carries for 696 yards, 5 touchdowns. Also 258 catching yards with 66 receptions. So, as a first-year player, I think those are great stats. You got Randy Squarebush coming back this season in the minors on a two-way, but I think that, to me, he stands out. I think he's a player to watch. Obviously, with Xander Moon and Marcus Duncan and Madison, I think that's going to be a fun offense to watch. But yeah, he's my guy. I think with expansion happening and traditionally quarterbacks, running backs, there's not opportunity or as much opportunity to get drafted each season. But with expansion and 4 teams happening, there's going to be openings at the running back and quarterback position. So definitely an opportunity for him. I think it'll be fun to watch this season.
Very cool. And knowing him in my own locker room with Madison, really supportive guy, great person. Derek, we'll move on to you. Who is your player spotlight? Who would you like to shine a light on?
Well, I was looking through, and there's a lot of guys that I think are obvious that everybody knows they're probably going to have a good year. The one I went with is Tyson Thorne, corner from Annapolis. So he joined the league before the position claims even opened up. So he's been there through all the progressions. He's already a bronze, and actually, other than Gond coming back on a two-way, the only bronze or better player on that defense. And I think with a team with an offense like Annapolis with Squarebush and Darby and Dinero, I think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts or get ahead in a lot of games, and I think that's where corners are going to get those picks, get those plays, and I think you could see him have a pretty good year as a first-year player.
Yeah, I see him a lot in the chat, or I did for a while. I think he might have. There's other players come in and start chatting away the last few weeks as well. So, but he seems like a great person out there in the chat, just progressing. Both as a human being. I think he's developing and I think he is moving and other things. Just getting things even better in his life. So that's always good to see. As well. Daniel, who's your spotlight player?
Well, first I'll say Tyson is a great pick. He's definitely very active, even in regular general chat. He's very active there, so that's a great pick. People got eyes on him already. For me, expansion. That's the name of the game this season. Expansion. 4 new teams. You know what 4 new teams need? They need quarterbacks. They need running backs. I'm going to go a quarterback on this one. I'm going to go. I could go Gene Struthers. I could go Charles Blunt, but I want to go to someone that may not be the best, but I want someone that might get the best looks. And I'm going to go with the Miners, the Jaleel Usman the second, because I remember our first season in the Miners. Uh, the very last pickup for the Houston Hyenas wasn't the best quarterback at the time. Dave Burr was only a first season guy, and he should have got Rookie of the Year the following season. And he's on the verge of getting them into the playoffs now. Jaleel's in the same kind of field, right? He's first, but he got a whole bunch of weapons and tools at his disposal. And having Damon Gears as a second wide receiver is only going to make him flourish on the team. People are going to see the deep threats. They're going to see almost like the Navigators were with Deep Threat Derby last season. I think this is a big go deep team, and that's just going to speak wonders to people that need them. And we know for a fact that at least 4 teams will need quarterbacks depending on free agency and other things. And we know Ashley Jackson is retiring in Arizona, as far as we know to this point, which means there's potential 5 spots on the line before any other retirements come out. And we all need quarterbacks on that team.
Good point. And we just saw him on the field last week, so and we're a week and a half away from seeing everybody on the field, which is going to be great. My selection, my pick for someone I wanted to shed a spotlight on. I didn't have to look too far from home, being in the Madison locker room. I had some, and this was sort of spur of the moment. Just last few days ago, I think it was, maybe it was Friday or Saturday. Uh, Ron Haynes, who's the tight end for Madison, reached out because he's like, "Hey, I went through your scouting tutorial and I'm starting to practice scouting on this team. Could you check some of these for me?" And we started talking and learning a little bit more. I learned a little bit more about him and the passion that he has for the league, passion that he has for football. Seeing scouting as a new challenge, and he's going to be doing that for us on Madison as soon as we've got actual games to scout. So post week 1, I'm really excited about it. I feel like he has a hunger that I liked seeing. He's a tall target for Xander Moon out there, and I'm sure he's going to do really well on the field. But off the field, he's just a really good person. I wanted to shed a little spotlight on as well. So Ron Haynes, tight end, throw to the tight end. Let's see, Daniel, you mentioned Ashley Jackson. I wanted to ask all 3 of you. I feel like Daniel, you've done that. You did do it. Have you all been on the show before? On her show?
Yes. I have been on the show a bit after you, Axel. I believe I talked to you about this. You being on the show got me to go on the show. And I talked about my mother, who is now passed away at that point and all that. But it was a great experience, great way to get people to look at me. And I think that was part of the reason why Dion and Tulsa picked me. And hopefully, if all things go well, we'll be in the playoffs after this week.
Derek or Johnny, have you had a chance to go on her show at all?
I got to go on her show. It was the first interview I did on video, and I was super nervous about it. But she's such an amazing person, and I was so happy to be on there. And it's funny because one of the things when she asked me what one of my goals was for the next year, I said it was to get a PS5. Well, it wasn't too much months later, and I got a PS5, so I completed that goal.
Check. Maybe if you go on there and you claim a goal that you want to get, and it just falls into your lap soon after. So
I'm going to go back on the show right now and ask for things, because apparently that works.
Ashley might be a god fairy. I'm pretty sure she's my godmother that grants me wishes, I guess.
Awesome. Johnny, have you had a chance to go on her show at all?
I never did. Still haven't. Me and her have chatted multiple times about connecting and me joining one of her shows, but it just hasn't worked out. But she's a great person, great community ambassador. She does a lot for the league. I mean, she's awesome. I don't know why I haven't made the time to do it. I should, because she deserves it. So, but no, I haven't had the chance yet.
No worries. And so again, it helped me, get draft. I like to think that it helped me get drafted. Daniel just says that he sort of attributes his getting looks by GMs, specifically Dion, where he ended up, being taken earlier than you even expected, Daniel. And then Derek, you mentioning going on there as well. Want to again give a little shout out. To everybody who's watching this, if you want to be on her show, reach out to her. It's AJ Stryker or AJ. Gosh, I can't remember her. But she's in the server in our Discord server.
Ashley Jackson, you mean?
Yes.
The other one. Yeah.
So, oh no, it's AJ Dravon or something like that was her Discord name.
Oh,
anyways,
yeah, it might be. I don't know. To be honest.
Anyways, I just wanted to give a little shout out to her. I had mentioned her coming on and talking during the halftime of the last preseason game, but I totally missed out on that. So I wanted to give her some airtime here, just to give her some shout outs. Again, if you want to be on the show, just like young Vot and ReggO Dinero, reach out to us. We love having a handful on, or at least two. It's great to see the camaraderie back and forth, or the interactions between the two players is fun. That's pretty much all that we have to talk about. Daniel, Derek, Johnny, do you guys have any final words or any topics you'd like to discuss at all or anything?
Well, we can still talk a bit more about expansions, because we know of at least two new teams, don't we, that decided to bring themselves up with the Canton Classics on AJ So. They brought themselves up. Beautiful people. They were on the show. We interviewed them with Adam Chant, and of course, Mr. Race Car Driver himself, KJ. And the Gargoyles. They posted in the general chat themselves that they put in a bid now. New York Gargoyles, and that was run by the guy that runs Crunch Time. So that will be interesting.
Actually, I don't think it's Josh Zirkle. I think it is John Michael Suddeth.
Oh yes, Michael Suddeth. Yes, Baltimore tight end. Yeah.
Yes.
Who helps out with Crunch Time?
He does. I think so. And he does commentary and all that stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Ethan.
So they did a nice little video. So that would be cool to see. It'd be interesting to see how many more names come up as soon as we get to the end, right? Because we're almost there. Expansion bid ends this weekend.
Yep, the 16th and midnight on Friday night. Everybody has to get their stuff in the Google Drive for them, and then it gets sent out to the owners for voting. And I think, I don't know if it's giving them a week, so the Friday after they might know, or when they might vote. But then as soon as the vote actually takes place, then they unlock it and show everybody what everybody had submitted and things. But then we have the waiting game starts at that point for almost a month, I think, until it's officially announced who gets awarded the expansion team. So good call.
Yeah, on the expansion, I was just going to say one thing. I've come to realize, just talking to people within the league, there's a lot of people within the league that have expansion bids that haven't made it really public yet. Because I found out about a couple that I didn't even know existed. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. There's those 4 or 5 that we all know about, but there's some sleepers there that I wouldn't rule out. You never know. So it's exciting, because I'm anticipating it just like everybody else.
Yeah, you never know what you don't know until you figure it out or find out. So yeah, I mean it's bound to shake up. Myself having a bid, and in limbo with Optimus Klein and Liam Hammer, my owners, and being the OC, finishing out strong, trying to finish out our season strong. Our final game this weekend, but trying to figure out as from their perspective, who's coming back, who's not, and I'm personally in limbo, just waiting until figuring out I'll either be back if I don't get the expansion bid, or I'll be off with the new team if I do get it. And I think all the other 24 owners are in that same type of predicament of like who's coming back, who's not, and then many players in my predicament or something similar. Like I want to join an expansion team, but I don't know, if I'm going to be able to, if they get approved or, so it's just sort of a waiting game until everything, Cam waves his magic wand and reveals the big reveal on the big championship day. So yeah, I feel everybody's pain a little bit. So yeah, but it's as much as the pain that we're going through, or weird uncomfortable limbo that we're sitting in. I'm excited about the opportunities and the possibilities that what this means for many people. For myself, partnering with BJ, who had in season 15, 16 had submitted another bid and wasn't approved. For seeing people who've been wanting this for a while, getting that kind of thing, and like Daniel, you were saying, there's going to be a lot more opportunities for a lot more players to move out into the pros. So it's really exciting there as well. And I feel like Cam has been doing a really solid job in starting to hedge a lot of the concerns that other owners might have had. Usually right after this at 8 p.m. Central, Dave Axis and the Road to Glory is on, and I know they talk a little bit about, and Cammy actually joined their show last week talking about some of the concerns that they were talking about, about like the production, like what if Cam gets sick or gets hit by a train? What happens then? How are we all doing? What does that look like? So he shared, some things that he's been doing, and then, subsequent announcement about there's the June convention about these live show producers and other things that he's going to, and building connections to help, bolster that ability on the back end of the producing side of things too. So, I'm just really excited and really both, humbled at everything that Cam and the league and everybody who's involved with these advancements. I'm both humbled and super proud of where I can't take any credit for any of it. I'm just sort of riding the coattails of everybody that's coming along and doing this great work. So I'm just really humbled and proud of the work that everybody's been doing.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how quickly things progressed, even when we first started to now. Like so much production, sponsorships, partners, like just continually upgrading and upgrading and upgrading, and it's definitely great to see. But I really wish we didn't have to wait till the championship game to figure out who got the expansion bids.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's what will make for an intense off season, is from the time it's announced to the time the next season starts, the flurry of moves that will happen. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think the first game is week 1 is mid-July in Las Vegas during the convention, which is the 11th or something like that of July. So that gives maybe 6 weeks of free agency re-signing and developing playbooks and getting all that stuff together, which is, Cam did allude to with the lengthening of the season to 14 weeks with the added buys and things. He wanted to shrink down that off season, but we'll see. It's going to be really exciting. Hold on to your pants, kind of like I might need to change my pants kind of excitement. So, anyways, thanks for bringing that up, Daniel. Really excited. A lot of anxiety around that, a lot of excitement as well. Good and bad butterflies in the stomach, kind of thing. So, yeah, I think that's unless anybody else has anything else. Nope. All right, cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. As always, if you have any questions, you want to be on the show, you want to be a co-host, you have an idea for a segment or something, reach out to us. We're all ears. Well, I've got some eyes and nose too, but I've got 2 ears that are willing to listen to any suggestions you might have. So, and eyes to read text stuff. And anyways, we don't have to get too literal. All right. Anyways, so with that, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, a good weekend. We've got some great games coming up, and pretty soon we'll be able to start talking about, actual minor league games. We're in episode 4 tonight, and there's no progression next week. I think it comes right after we're done with our games after week 1. for minor league players. So pay attention to that. I think it's Roster Freeze or Roster Lock, where they actually build everything out for all the games and things. So that should be exciting. Yeah, then it's just a matter of sitting down and watching our shows or watching the games and things. So with that, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Johnny, for joining me tonight. Couldn't have done it without you. I stand on the shoulder of giants, and you guys are those giants. So with that, I want to bid you all a good night, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday. So take care.
Thank you for
Take
having me.
care, everyone.